Please welcome to the stage, Eddie Ndopu.
Hi. Oh my, hi. Oh my goodness. So, I hope y'all don't mind if I channel my inner Oprah and start by shouting, "Hello, Oxford!" Oh my goodness. Listen, so, y'all have no idea what it means to me to be here with you this evening. It is truly a full circle moment. 7 years ago, I found myself outside the Sheldonian Theater, not too far from here, battling the harsh November wind. I remember my fingers were so numb, I could barely feel them, as the cold sapped the circulation from my grip on my wheelchair's joystick. But I pressed on because I was about to become the first African with a degenerative disability to earn a master's degree in public policy right here. I had a rendezvous with history. And let me tell you that nothing, not even the threat of frostbite, was going to stop me, darling. No. It was supposed to be the proudest and most joyous day of my life as a young global changemaker in the making. The culmination of years of struggle, tearing down barriers as a pioneer for disability inclusion. But instead, I felt like a shadow of my former self, tired, depressed, and frankly speaking, thoroughly traumatized. See, Oxford was actually one of the worst years of my life. I had totally underestimated the toll that being part of this institution would take. It was unexpectedly unprepared to meet my complex needs as a severely disabled person, and I underestimated the impact that that would have on my psyche. To this day, the club of disabled Oxonians remains scandalously small. I had spent the better part of my time here cobbling together every nickel and dime I could. This was over and above the full scholarship I had been awarded, fundraising from people around the world. This was to cover the obscene costs associated with the round-the-clock care I depended upon for my day-to-day survival. Indeed, while my non-disabled counterparts were getting the most out of their Oxford experience, I was spending most nights crying myself to sleep, worried whether I'd have someone there the next morning to get me out of bed. I don't know how on God's green earth I survived, but I managed to graduate from this extraordinary but equally complicated institution. And so the fact that I am here tonight addressing you from the main stage of the Skoll World Forum here in Oxford, which was ground zero of my despair, is nothing short of cosmic justice and divine grace. But get this. So a few years after graduation, I took the pain that I had experienced in these hallowed halls and began channeling it into the publication of my debut memoir. So over the span of 2 years, I spent 18 hours a day using my one good finger to write a sprawling tale of anticlimax, grief, and fighting back on my iPhone. Yes, you heard right. I wrote an entire book on my phone. I decided to call the book Sipping Dom Perignon Through a Straw, which has since become a bestseller worldwide. It is a cheeky declaration that there is no contradiction, none whatsoever, between being profoundly disabled and, dare I say, utterly fabulous. I learned a lot about myself writing this book. I also learned a great deal about the art and science of activism and what it takes to make change in the world. While I was a graduate student here, I had internalized the problematic notion that the true revolutionary, the activist that was worth their salt, was the one who had tethered themselves to struggle as a noble pursuit in and of itself. That to suffer was somehow intrinsically necessary for any meaningful vision and practice of liberation. That one needed to narrowly escape death in order to change hearts and minds. That self-flagellation was a routine part of the course of making change. I think part of the reason why I felt so incredibly depressed at times while I was here was because I mistakenly believed that if I couldn't get Oxford to accommodate me, that was because I hadn't tried hard enough as an activist. But as fabulous as I am, how could I possibly have thought that I could single-handedly take on 900 years of ableism in 1 year? It didn't quite make sense, but I think that's the absurdity of the burden that we carry as activists. We think we are responsible for undoing calcified, fossilized manifestations of inequality and exclusion. If I don't know what's unreasonable, if that's not unreasonable, then I don't know what is. Part of what I think needs to change is that we need to relieve some of the pressure that we place on ourselves in the name of resisting unfairness and inequality. Indeed, through my journey, I've come to understand something profound. The path to navigate and ultimately transcend oppression and trauma doesn't have to be paved solely with self-sacrifice and arduous struggle. Instead, it can be richly adorned with elements of decadence, joy, pleasure, love, and, if I say so myself, a generous sprinkling of glitter. As I delved into the depths of my experiences while penning my memoir, a revelation dawned on me. I actually have no interest in pursuing any form of social justice or revolutionary change that does not celebrate or even acknowledge my personal joy, wellness, and inherent fabulousness. It became increasingly clear that our collective vision for social justice, the policies that govern our lives, and our strategies for liberation must be inclusive, not just of the solemn aspects of struggle, but also the vibrant dimensions of joy, rest, again, glitter, glamour, love, and the boundless realms of the imagination. I think this holistic approach ensures that our fight for a better world doesn't just free us from the chains of oppression, but also allows us to live fully, richly, and with unabated splendor. Indeed, my understanding of activism is deeply rooted in the transformative power of the imagination. At its core, activism involves dreaming up a yet-to-be-realized world and doing everything we possibly can to go after that vision. Reflecting on the profound words of the revolutionary poet Diane de Prima, she declared that the only war that matters is the war against the imagination. This reinforces the notion that our greatest battles are waged in the domain of our imaginations. It's here that we are challenged to dream boldly and craft a future that reflects our highest aspirations. As activists, as changemakers, social innovators, and revolutionaries, I believe that it is our collective duty to enrich future generations with a higher threshold of possibility. Indeed, mediocrity or the ordinary is simply not in our playbook. This realization struck me especially after my time here at Oxford, where it became evident that in some ways I had operated in a way that was too conventional, too aligned with the established norms. Hence, I believe that my dedication to confronting ableism has to go beyond the normative frameworks. It's about championing what I call disability joy, fostering a culture of joy within the disability community. This encompasses finding delight in laughter, celebrating moments, big and small, with a glass of champagne, and tirelessly working to extend the boundaries of radical love and dignity. Our mission is to ensure that every individual, irrespective of their abilities and identities, are acknowledged and fully validated, listened to, and valued in our collective journey toward a more inclusive society. So on that note, are there any Gen Zers in the audience? Gen Zers, where you at? So speaking in your language, being, being perpetually tired or suffering for your health is not what one might call a flex. There's nothing commendable or virtuous about romanticizing hardship. It's a critical issue if our social justice efforts suggest that enduring struggle and suffering is a must for progress. Therefore, my sincere hope for each and every single one of you is to find and embrace radical joy in your lives. And don't get me wrong, this isn't about ignoring the battles that we face, but recognizing that joy can be a form of resistance and a source of strength as we work towards a better world. I leave you with these words from Diane de Prima's exquisite poem, Rant. The imagination is not only holy, it is precise. It is not only fierce, it is practical. Men die every day for the lack of it. It is vast and elegant. Intellectus means light of the world. It is not discourse. It is not even language. It is the inner sun. The polis is constellated around the sun. The fire is central. I thank you deeply.